On this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast, I'm joined by the vocalist for Johnny Baseball, Evan Lawrence. If you guys been following us on social media, you know we are big fans of their latest album, Still Swinging Back. We talk about Johnny Baseball's beginning and how the current lineup and sound came together. If you haven't listened to it yet, go check out Still Swinging Back. But for now, let's open this pit up. What's up, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast with me, Trevor, and I'm running solo again, so I grabbed our good friend Evan from Johnny Baseball. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, man, no, of course. And again, thank you for saving my butt. Last week, I had to do the same thing with my friend Chris. He jumped on. He was kind enough to help me out and threw it out there. I was like, hey, I'm running solo again. Who can help me out? You hit me up. And so I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
So awesome. Well, we kick these things off. We usually just talk about, what we've been listening to during the week or any tours or anything that you've seen pop up recently. So what have you been listening to?
I've been jamming. I've been a new aesthetic from San Diego. Bunch of young kids, dude. I think they're like 18.
Yeah.
But they just put out a song that's super cool, and we're playing with them in July. So I've been jamming their stuff a lot, dude. I'm still stuck on that Time Heist EP. It's so good.
It was incredible. It's what we've talked about, right? It's just fast. It's in your face. It's just straight hardcore, right? And it's different than what everyone's doing right now. Everyone's trying to implement breakdowns or something. They're just like, no, we're going straight through.
I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. Like, hardcore needs another youth crew renaissance. We need that. And bands like Time Heist that make that shit cool again. Dude, I love you guys. I hope we get to play with them at some point, because their shit's so good. Jamming them a lot. And dude, I went back to Reign Supreme. I haven't listened to Reign Supreme in a long time, so I've been jamming them for a little bit. And that's pretty much it, man. That's my rotation this week.
Dude, you're kind of like all over the board because Johnny Baseball, pop punk, I mean, your early stuff through and through, like we call it, generic pop punk. The last album, Still Swinging Back, you got the more hardcore feel to it, which I greatly appreciate. But you and I talk all the time, and often it's like, we're talking like The Ghost Inside, we're talking Mailing, we're talking like all that other stuff that like I grew up with. And it's really cool. It's so fun to talk to other people who actually listen to more than just like the genre they like play in and stuff like that. So
yeah, 100%. I mean, it keeps you fresh, man. Like, I don't, maybe it works for some people to just have one kind of sound and that's what they listen to all the time, but like, it'll burn me out, man. Like, last week I was bumping Andre Nicotina. I love that dude. It's like one of my favorite rappers ever. So you got to switch it up, man. You got to keep it fresh.
The rap game is something that I've never been able to like get into. That's the one thing that I just don't know what it is. It's just never clicked with me. There's always like the gimmicky stuff, like at some point in like 2008, 2009, there was a bunch of like straight edge rap stuff that came out that we would always mess around with. And then Punk Goes Crunk. We always bump that kind of thing. But other than that, like I had friends who listened to it, so I listened to a few things here and there, but I was just never a big rap guy.
My my best friend Damon grew up on 50 Cent, and when he and I started hanging out at like end of middle school, early high school, 50 changed my life, man, and just opened up the hip hop game to me. And so,
all right. So when we get into the JB rap verse,
oh, dude. My buddy James, he goes by Earthworm. He's a rapper out in Ogden, and been crushing it for forever. At some point, I want to figure out a way to have him on a song in a way that works. And I've told him that before. At some point in the future, I need to, like that Drain album, they have the Shake Well interlude. Like something like that. We'll cook it up at some point. But
every now and again, dude, it hits and it just hits right, if it's done well. So I have faith you guys can do it. But so we talk a lot of hardcore, we talk a lot of pop punk, you and I, but how heavy do you go? Do you listen to like the heavy stuff or what do you do that way?
I definitely like, I had like early 2000s probably was super into like that MySpace era of deathcore for a minute for
Okay.
sure. Like Suffocate, old like Chelsea Grin was so good. Obviously, like Suicide Silence. Um, I love Whitechapel, like early Whitechapel. So I don't know, man. I think that's probably. I'm not much of like a doom metal guy. Not a big slam guy. There are bands out there that are cool, but if I'm gonna listen to something super brutal, it's probably gonna be 2010 MySpace era deathcore.
Okay. The reason I ask is I've been playing a lot of Black Dahlia this week.
Yeah, dude.
Sneak peek for next week. That's who we're going to talk about because
I love it.
their new song is so good.
Is it so?
So
Is it the first release without Trevor? Is it the first one
it
with the?
is.
Okay, I haven't
It's
I
the
haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, first formal release without him. And again, it was just their guitarist, right, who moved over to vocals. So it's still Black Dahlia. So I've listened to Black Dahlia since Miasma 2005,
Yeah.
right? That first album that came out. And it's been pretty consistent. And as I've gone back through and I've listened to their full discography again, like I love it. Every single thing I love, right? But it's
Uh-huh.
all the same.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. You go from Miasma to Nocturnal to even the latest one, Aftermath, and it's just fast death metal in your face.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of this like was really inspiring to bands like My Children, My Bride, who did
Yeah.
that very well, but then threw breakdowns in with it. And
Yeah.
so it's fun to like sit there and listen. And there's often like a riff where I'm like, oh, I've heard that riff before on a different band. You know what I mean? So they were definitely, pioneers in helping continue to grow the scene. And Trevor Strand, before he died, he was such uh, a cheerleader for
Yeah.
everything metal, hardcore, everything like that. So he was awesome.
I think he was one of those dudes. It's like just universally loved in the wider scene of like heavier alternative music. You know what I mean? And yeah, they ripped. Miasma was really the only album that I jammed heavily by them. Um, it's funny every time I'll go back and listen to that album, it gets I don't know why because I don't even know they sound really similar, but it always gets me on like a on As Blood Runs Black kick. Like I view those bands in just a similar space, and I don't really know that they are, but it just takes me. I get in that mode, and like that's the shit that I listen to.
See, but that's actually what I'm saying, right? You listen to something like Black Dahlia, but then As Blood Runs Black and stuff, I think they were it looks like As Blood Runs Black was just after Black Dahlia, right?
Yeah,
2006
couple
was
years later.
Allegiance.
Yeah,
And dude, I love that album. That album's incredible.
that
But
record is insane, dude. It's so good.
oh my gosh, In Dying Days, My Fears Become My Phobias. Like, I could listen to this album nonstop. I don't mind their other stuff, but that first Allegiance record, so freaking good.
Uh huh.
But they did what we were kind of talking about. They took the death metal, like Black Dahlia is definitely death metal, right? They don't break down a lot. But then you bring As Blood Runs Black or some of these other bands, and they throw in
Yeah,
the breakdowns. So that's where you get the deathcore, right? It
yeah,
starts to do like you were talking about the MySpace deathcore, Suffocate, Suicide Silence,
yeah,
bands
yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? So, but no, absolutely incredible. And then I've still just been on a massive pop punk kick, right? So continuing to, rock JB's album. I've been listening to a lot of Sucker Punch.
Uh huh.
Have you heard those guys out of New Jersey?
I think I saw them. It's funny you say that. I think I saw them on Instagram today. And if it's the same band I'm thinking of, I think it's Nick's band from Man Overboard. I think he's in that band or producing it or something. If it's the
Oh,
same band
really?
I'm thinking of,
He might be producing it. These guys are pretty young as well, is my understanding. I think they're
uh huh,
kind of early college, probably like early 20s and stuff like that.
uh
Maybe
huh.
he's in there. it wouldn't surprise me if he was producing though, because these guys are from New Jersey area. They're putting out a record coming up here shortly. I think it comes out like July 17th. But
Uh-huh.
this was a band that I found through Instagram, and the Devils Hockey Club. They used to do those hardcore shows between
Oh,
periods.
yeah.
These guys played one of those.
Okay, was it that video that was kind of going around a couple weeks ago of that? Okay.
I'm sure. I mean, I think there's been like 4 or 5 bands who have done it, who have really circulated and stuff, but these guys played it. It's really reminiscent of early A Day to Remember and stuff like that. So it's pop punk. It has the breakdowns, a little bit more of the easy core feel, but
Uh-huh.
it still has that northeast feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get like almost the post hardcore feel mixed into it. So it's really solid in terms of like a good nostalgic pop
Uh-huh.
along with feeling pretty fresh. So it's solid, and I'm excited for their upcoming. Like I said, I think July 17th is when they're. I don't know if it's a full length or if it's just an EP, but they've got some new music coming out.
What did you think of Story So Far's new album?
I really like it. I was not a huge fan of the self-titled Story So Far album.
Okay.
Proper Dose kind of brought me back a little bit, and I think this is a step up from Proper Dose. So the first two are still like my go-to Story So Far albums, but I really like this one. It had a little bit more of an upbeat feel. It got faster at times, like those first two albums. I feel like that
Yeah.
Proper Dose did, but it still brings back what Proper Dose did well.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was a good blend. What about you?
Um, dude, I'm an unapologetic fanboy for anything that band does. I think over time, they're they probably have to be my number one, like my all time favorite. I think they're the only band that has a zero skip discography for me. Like, I don't think they have a shitty song. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Like, so Proper Dose took me a minute when that album came out, um, for it to like click. I didn't love it
Yeah.
for the first like week, um, and I was expecting kind of the same thing with the new one, but no, man, I think it's good. I think that's the perfect album for them to put out. Like where they're at now, I think progression wise, it's good. It makes sense. I don't love the mix. That's like I won't beat that dead horse. A lot of people talk about how they don't love the mix, so that's a detractor for me. I think the songs are great, and yeah, it didn't let me down at all. I loved it.
I gotcha. And I mean, dude, you're wearing a no pressure shirt. So I like, you know what I mean? Like Parker Cannon, right? That
Yeah.
dude can touch anything and it turns into gold.
Do you ever listen to Snarl?
Snarl, no.
He did a I don't know who it's with, but this was like well before No Pressure. This is probably like after in between Self Titled and Proper Dose, I think.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and it's just straight up hardcore like side project. It's like an 8 minute long EP. And it's sick. You should jam it
Really?
if you've never heard it. Mm.
Can you find it on everywhere? Or is it like a
Yeah.
YouTube thing?
No, it's on like Spotify and shit.
Oh, dang. Okay. I got that here. 2015. All right. I'll hit that up for sure. Did you see the videos of the No Pressure show in New York where they played with Koyo?
I
Dude,
think that was that you're talking about the album release that Source of Artist did, like at the little bar with Koyo.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
And like people were like
crazy.
stage diving and everything.
Yeah,
Dude, that's what I want from Story So Far. Like
yeah,
they need to do what Madball just did and go to like 200 cap venues everywhere
totally.
they go. Just sell it all out and just have the place go wild with
Yeah,
people who love them. You know what I mean? Yeah, I've been pretty disappointed in seeing like the sets from A Day to Remember, the Story So Far and stuff in these amphitheaters.
yeah,
It's just not the venue to see them.
for sure. It is that double-edged sword, man. If you get to the point where there's that much demand for your music and what you do, and obviously like Source of Far has been there for 15 years at this point, but like it, and I think Parker even talked about it too, and he did like an interview with Rolling Stone, I think, about like feeling that kind of disconnection from going to playing you know, punk clubs,
Right.
300 rooms, and then, 10,000, people in an amphitheater. Like, it's a very disconnected way to experience that music. So, but what are you going to do, man? You're big enough. If you can sell 10,000 tickets, go get your bread, dude. Like, go do it.
That's exactly what I said in the last time I was talking about this. Is it's like good for you, right? Good for you that you have a big enough fan base, a day to remember, the story so far, 4 years strong. Those are the three main bands, right? Through this whole thing, that
Yeah.
they are just selling tons of tickets, right? Good for you guys. I don't want to see it, to be honest, right? Like I don't love our amphitheater specifically. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
not a
awful.
great venue. Yeah, it sucks,
The
right?
worst.
So maybe I'm a little bit jaded just because of that. Maybe it'd be funner at a different place, but our amphitheater just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So I'll go see like old alternative rock bands there, go sit on the lawn, take my kids and stuff. But I'm not going to go see a hardcore show there. I'm not
Yeah.
going to go see a pop punk show there. It's
Yeah.
just not worth it, especially for like, what is it, $106 a ticket or something?
A lot, I'm
Like,
sure.
but what about new tours coming out? Anything that's caught your eye? Anything that's been announced?
I don't think so. Not that I've seen. I'm still kind of geeking over the Koyo and One Step Closer and Anxious tour. I think that's one that's like kind of been a long time coming for the triple headliner. That's cool. Um, I don't know. I think that's I don't know that I've seen a lot in the last couple days, but
Sure.
I'm stoked. I think that show's on Saturday in Salt Lake. So
Yeah.
stoked for
Yeah.
that.
Um, I talked about a bunch of tours that got announced last week and stuff. I don't think there's really anything this week that popped, but I've got to vent a little bit right now in terms of the 4th of July. The 4th
Mm-hmm.
of July needs to be one day. We need to have it on the 4th. Right now, I've got stuff on the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th of July. So I
Mm-hmm.
have Koyo tickets. I'm giving them away.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah. I saw that.
so I'm giving my tickets away. I'm super bummed because as soon as it was announced, like within 20 minutes of it opening, I had bought my tickets. I was so excited for that show.
Same.
But I've got 3 little kids at home. I've got to take them to their fireworks shows on Saturdays. So,
Yeah.
you know, my loss is going to be someone's gain. And, enough people like them that it shouldn't be hard to give these tickets away. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
pumped about that. But so you're going to that?
Yeah. So I've got a buddy playing Ogden Twilight. Brandon and Cody, shout out Suda. They do like dance music. They're opening for Diplo on Saturday, which is sick. Like
Sick.
super super sick opportunity for them. They're gonna crush it. So I can't miss that. But we're gonna go see them play because they're a couple hour long sets, and then book it down to Kilby to go see the Koyo show,
Yeah.
and then head back up when that's done to go catch the after party or whatever else is going on at Ogden Twilight. So it's gonna be a lot of driving on Saturday night. But I'm like, dude, I'm not missing either of these, so I'm gonna find a way to make it work.
No, that'll be cool. That'll be cool for sure. So, well, sick. Should we jump into Johnny Baseball?
Let's
Got
do
some
it.
questions for you. Okay. So, JB, the first thing that I saw, right, it came from pandemic, right? 2022, 2023, I think
Uh-huh.
is the first stuff I saw. I was flipping through your guys' Facebook, and it looks like you guys started in 2012. So, what's the backstory for Johnny Baseball?
Yeah. Yeah, I heard you talk about that on the when you guys were talking about the album. So JB initially was a side project for the dudes that I played in SGK with, and SGK was like metallic hardcore band in high school, and then just out of high school that we played in, and started Johnny Baseball as a pop punk side project, and it was sound wise was pretty different from where it is now. I think we were very much so going for that like early 2010s era of pop punk, like when the story so far was getting big, and like Turnover still played pop punk, and like Citizen and some of those bands where it was a little, I don't know, it's just a different vibe, very localized type of sound that was popping off in those years. And so we um, played that, and we we only played like 3 shows. I think our first show was playing with Turnover and Citizen, so that was dope.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
But it didn't last. We were around for like less than a year. One of my best friends was in SGK with us and about to start playing in Johnny Baseball, and he died right outside of high school, like right around this time we went on. He was in both bands. We kind of like took a second, figure out what we wanted to do, and it just time wise, we all went to college and got jobs or whatever else. So it died out, and then in 2022, I was like, dude, I miss playing music. I miss going to shows. Like I miss just that being a part of what I do in my life. And so I'm the only member that was in old JB, and now I just brought the name back. I was like, dude, it's such a dumb, funny name, and it works for this kind of music. And I want to start
It's
doing this.
great.
So I'll just bring the name back. And I never deleted the Facebook page, so there you go.
I gotcha. So how'd you get hooked up with all the crew, right? So
Yeah.
who's currently in Johnny Baseball? We'll go there.
So Phil and I kind of kicked this off, and I actually work with Phil, have for a few years, and then we just became buddies. Um, and then Ben, our other guitarist, is a buddy of mine from way back. Like I was talking about, like when we played in SGK and old Johnny Baseball. We knew him from back then, so he played in a couple bands like Gunfight Fever, like instrumental, kind of technical prog metal. And just shreds. And when we started JB up, we needed another guitarist, and he and I had just been chatting, and he decided to join. And then Nick, it's funny. So Nick, I found from Jake from Absolved posted their
Yep.
first single on Reddit, on the hardcore subreddit. And I saw it, I listened to it, I was like, this is the sickest shit I've ever heard. There's a band in Salt Lake doing this. That's so cool. So I reached out to them and like followed them on Instagram and stuff, and I saw the Nick recorded their EP. I was like, dude, I love how this sounds. I'm gonna go hit this guy up. And then Phil and I just took that first EP to Nick and recorded it. And then over time, like we were gonna find a drummer. I wasn't really trying to, because I knew that eventually Nick would just be Johnny Baseball's drummer.
Okay.
And so it got to the point he had filled in for like 4 shows, and I was just like, yeah, I'm in Johnny Baseball now. So
Okay.
and then Kai plays guitar for us too. Kai from like Snuff Tape and Amoris. So that's everybody. That's the roster.
How did you get how did Kai come into the fold? Because that's a relatively new addition.
Yeah. So Phil switched to bass. Our bass player left the band. Phil switched to bass, and then Kai. Like Phil's a bass player. Like when I asked him to start writing music with me, it was he obviously knows how to play guitar, but he's a bassist, so it kind of made sense for him to move to bass. He still writes. He and Nick and I write everything. And so he'll still write guitar parts, and then Kai just hop on guitar.
Gotcha. So the album, Still Swinging Back, it is, dude, it's scratched an itch that I've been looking for, right? There's not a lot of like straight hardcore pop punk right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I was looking for. It was something that every band that I was like listening to, they had like little glimpses of it. And I was like, I want an album of that. And so in this case, I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I wanted. And it makes me feel like I'm listening to like Set Your Goals Again, things like that, where it just has that total energy vibe, like front to back, nonstop. It just goes. So when you started the EP before, Don't Talk About It, Be About It, that's more, like I was saying, kind of generic pop punk in what I call generic pop punk.
Yeah.
Why the transition? Why the hardcore?
When we wrote the album initially, or the EP, This was Phil and I. Like, we wrote that before Johnny Baseball was even like conceptualized really into like, here's a band. It's like, let's write some songs. And I think I knew initially that like that sound is, I think that's an underserved type of sound. Like you were just saying, like I really miss bands that can do that and have a foot in both doors. Um, and so I think I knew that that's kind of the sound I wanted. We just needed to kind of find out for us, what that meant in terms of writing and like how we wanted to flesh the songs out. Like Still Holla probably could have been a song on the album. Like Still Holla of the EP is like the kind of more, it was faster. There's like not really a breakdown, but kind of a two-steppy part. And then we just kept writing. Like we haven't stopped writing as a band since 2022. Just keep going. And so as we do that, we figure out like, okay, here's the sound we can do. Let's add this. Let's incorporate this. And I think it just allowed us to be probably more intentional with how we wrote the album versus the EP. The EP was like, let's come up with cool shit, turn it into a song, record it. And the album, we worked a year and a half, 2 years, song by song, like getting it down, figuring out what we wanted, trying to be purposeful with how we wrote it. So I think it just was the same idea, just the execution got a little clearer when we did the LP. That makes sense?
Yeah. No, and I love that. I love bands where you can see that progression. Like you catch the glimpses, like you said, on Still Holla. And then it develops into the sound that is going to be like the trademark, right? There's been a lot of like these smaller bands as we've done these local band series that do exactly that. You listen to that initial EP and you're like, it's good. There's glimpses. And then the second EP or the second LP, all of a sudden you're like, this is
That's
exactly
it.
what I had hoped you turned into.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what you get on this next one. So you obviously are like calling back the hardcore. Good Dudes Backed Hard, Still Swinging Back, all that stuff. And then you have the D's Nuts cover. So where do you go from here? Like, are we going to get a Johnny Baseball? Like, did you ever see when Neck Deep did the Slip Neck and they would do Slipknot covers?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are we gonna get Johnny Baseball doing like pseudonyms and doing like a straight hardcore bandit sometime kind of thing? Or where are we going with this?
I don't know, man. The great unknown. I am. I don't know, man. I want to do vocals in a straight up hardcore band. I've been thinking about kind of putting together a side project and seeing how that goes. Because I'm just like go go go. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want to always be writing. I want to always be playing shows. And you can't. You go in cycles as a band. You got to do what makes sense for everybody and makes sense for your growth. So like even right now, we just put this album out. I'm like, all right, let's start writing. Let's start writing the new shit. And it doesn't really work
sure.
that way. So anyway, I don't. I might. We'll see where that goes. I might get something off the ground. I don't know, man. I think for again on the album, I think we found a sound that works, and I think as we go forward in next releases and whatever those look like, I don't think there's much thought behind like let's progress a sound necessarily, but let's get better at it and let's
Sure.
add more moments and more cool sing along shit. You know what I mean? Let's get heavier where we feel like we need to. So I think just kind of evolving that sound and trying to get better with it. But who knows, man? Who knows? 18 months, you might hear a skate punk album from us. We'll see.
Let's go. Let's go. That's sick. So you guys have had a couple album release shows, right? You've done two. What was your guys' overall thoughts after? Because listen, I've been to both. They were fantastic. I loved it. The first one at Kilby, you guys like blew it away. It was so sick. It was so fun. What was your guys' feeling? How did you guys feel after those?
Thank you, man, for the kind words first and foremost. Glad you had fun. We had a great time at both shows. After the Kilby show, I remember just being like, God damn it, dude! I wish our set was longer. I don't want to get off the stage. Like that was so fun. Um, but yeah, it was sick. I was hoping, it's like I don't think we will, but I hope we sell it out, pack the place, get everybody there. I really wanted that lineup, and I've wanted that lineup to play a show for a minute. And it's always like two of those bands, 2 or 3 of those bands, playing a show. And I was like, dude, these are probably my favorite bands in Salt Lake City. Like, I'm close with all those dudes. I love their sound. I love their music. So I think it was a good lineup. It made sense, and I just made the show better. Like, every band crushed it. So good.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I was just stoked after it. There were people singing along to like songs that I didn't think anybody would know yet, 2 weeks after the album came out, which was super cool to see. Like, kids I've never seen on a show that just knew every word, and that was affirming, super gratifying, and unexpected, so.
Yeah. And then you guys, the second one, it was kind of an EP release more or less for and Knuckles, right?
Yeah.
And then you guys hopped on with those guys. So how did that one come together?
We had the date, and I was so caught up with everything for the Kilby release show and like the album, and we were working on finalizing the tour kind of all at the same time, late May, early June. And I hadn't even started on anything for 628. So I just talked to the dudes in Knuckles because I saw that they had their EP release show, and I was like, hey, let's just do them together. And then hit up all those bands. I hit up Dan for a Milk Money set because I wanted to play a show with his Milk Money band. He's like, how about I do a Good Tier set? And I was super down for that because Dan's solo stuff is incredible.
Sure.
But yeah, we just knew we wanted to do a round 2. Like, let's do it up in Ogden, get some Ogden homies there, and just do it with. The first show was more of a hardcore show. You know what I mean? Like, all 3 other bands were hardcore, and this was kind of a mixed bag of like, this cool people, good music, let's have fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. One of my favorite things that you did in the 2 shows is the 18 Visions. 18.
Yeah.
18 Visions. Tower Snakes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that breakdown, it's so fun. It's so sick. But Matt Naines, I think is how you pronounce his name, from Day 2 was standing there, and he was screaming along to it and singing. So Day 2 is a band that, especially Kyle, who does the podcast with me, grew up listening to. That was the first concert he ever went to.
Oh, shit.
And so, like, I saw the video from Good Tears posted it, and of singing along and stuff. I stood next to him the entire JB show, and I didn't know who it was. And he hit me up after, and I was like, dude, no way. Like, I love Day 2. So I've actually been listening to Day 2 over the last week too, but he's awesome, and they're playing soon. So I'm super pumped on that. I'm going to go try to catch those guys when they're playing. But
hell yeah.
I just thought that was funny. You guys have a tour coming up. Talk about that.
So pumped, man. I've never toured before. I've done weekenders and, some shows out of state, playing music after high school. But so I'm pumped. It'll be my first tour. Obviously, Nick has toured over the world. He's, it's not new to most of the band, pretty much just me. So I'm pumped. We're going to go just do West Coast, start in Chico, California, and then go hit LA. I think we're playing, I don't remember if we're playing Santa Cruz, like San Diego, and then Phoenix and Vegas, coming back home. So it won't be a super long one. It's like 7 shows. But I'm stoked, man. I've been wanting to get out there and do this, as early in the year as we could. We had to push the album release back a little bit, so we're lucky enough to have kind of everything timing wise happen when we wanted it to. So,
how did you hook up with Too Close for Comfort to go out with those guys?
They played here like a year ago. And we were just talking to those guys. JB didn't play that show, but another band that Nick fills in for called Mir Nova played it. Okay. And so we were just talking to them, and they, a little more established than JB, toured a little bit, and they're close enough. They're in Reno. So the routing made sense to just meet up West Coast, come back here, cool dudes. Stoked to play with them. And yeah, I don't know who the locals are. I don't know that we've got like confirmations on all that stuff, but I'm stoked. I think there'll be some fun shows. There's like a hardcore fest at a skate park, which is going to be so sick. I'm stoked for that.
Oh, sick.
I think it's in
Is that
Stockton.
the Oh, that's it, the Stockton one?
Uh huh.
Okay. Because isn't the LA stop, isn't that a skate shop that you're going to be playing in?
LA's a program. The record shop.
Oh, the record shop. Okay. Okay, that's sick. I I've been talking to the guys out of Easy Out. Have you been
Mm-hmm.
following Easy Out at all?
Uh-huh.
So Easy Out is No Bragging Rights vocalist. It's his
Oh
skate
shit.
punk band. So we've been
Yeah,
chatting with
I've never
them.
heard of it.
Yeah, you'll have to check them out. They have 3 singles, and I think they program had been posting about Easy Out and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of knew I recognized that venue's name a little bit when that got
Mm-hmm.
posted. But yeah, they're sick. So they're like a skate punk band. He does a couple things, right? So he's in No Bragging Rights, he's in Easy Out, and then he's in a band called Burner State, which is again, it's a little bit more pop punk hardcore kind of feel as well. So
Uh-huh.
he's gonna have all over the place, but Easy Out sick. You should check those guys out. But
Yeah, that's dope. I love Mike's vocals were always the best part about No Bragging Rights. I used to love that band, so that's cool. I'm stoked to jam that, hearing something new.
so recognizable too, right?
Uh-huh.
Like it was funny because like the only thing that I could start thinking is I'm like skate punk usually like skate punk, it's kind of like raw vocals. You might be too good of a singer to be doing a skate punk
Uh-huh.
band, you know what I mean? But no, it sounds good. It's awesome. And their last one that they just put out, it probably is my favorite of the 3, and it just came out yesterday. It's really good. So yeah, you'll have to check that out. So, what's your favorite song off the album? Still Swinging Back.
Oh man, I don't know. It changes. I've listened to the album so much in both the recording process, which took a long time, so a lot of listens for revisions, and then just in anticipation of the album coming out, I think I overplayed the record for myself. So I'll be like, my favorite song at whatever point is the one that I hate the least. It feels that way sometimes, but I've obviously taken a break from it. Going back, um, Adderall was a fun one to write. I think that one is kind of a kind of a standout song. I don't know, man. Still Swinging Back is great. I think Pump the Brakes might be my favorite. Um, just super fast and kind of encompasses a lot of core pieces, I guess, the album. But I don't know, man. It changes. I think as of right now, it's probably Pump the Brakes, and I also love, that it's the only song with the feature on it. And Bob, For Me or the Worst, just crushed it. His
Yeah.
part of the song is my favorite part. So
Is there any songs that have like actual significant meaning to you on this, or I mean everything's gonna mean something to you,
for
right?
sure, yeah. Um, trying to think. I don't know that I would pick one above the other songs on the record for terms of like meaning. To me, I think that Good Dudes probably stands out as the most like straightforward. It's the only song on the record talking about what it's talking about and like being, it's very straightforward. I wrote the lyrics first, and Nick and I threw the song together around it. Um, but the rest of the album is like kind of reflections on people and relationships around me and things that involve me and things that I'm external to. And that was obviously the one song that's like, fuck you, do better, right?
Right.
Was the point. So I don't know. I think that one probably, if we're gonna say means the most, probably that
Gotcha. Sick. Cool, man. Well, last question here. Either tour coming through or tour package that you could go on. What is like the dream show to play for you? with Johnny Baseball.
Can I go? Can I go? Previously active bands hoping they come back, or does this have to be active bands right now?
You can take it however you want, man. I have no rules on this.
All right, all right. I want a lifetime headliner.
Oh, sick. Okay.
I want silent majority. Um, Probably set your goals. Uh, no pressure and JB, man. I want to open that show up.
Dude, so sick. So sick. I'm down for that. And I hope that we can start to I love the pop punk hardcore, and I hope that we get some more hardcore bands that start to bridge that line a little bit, and we can get a little bit more rowdy shows for you guys, because you guys have some stuff that's absolutely fun to swing to mosh to, and I think that we're gonna start to get a heavier crowd for you guys, and it's gonna be a ton of fun. So I'm way pumped on that. That's way
Yeah,
sick. Cool, man. Well, dude, I so appreciate you jumping on with me and taking a few minutes. Uh, Anything else that you have? Anything else that you want to take the time to shout out?
I don't think so, man. think that's about it. Thank you for having me on. It's been fun. You guys are always, been so supportive of JB and the record, and it's awesome, man. So thank
Oh,
you for
of
that.
course.
Thanks for having me on.
So shout out just real quick your socials and where they should find Johnny Baseball.
It's at Johnny Baseball Punk on everything. So pretty easy. Johnny Baseball Punk, and you can find us wherever you get your music. So all the streaming albums on Bandcamp, minus the D's Nuts cover, because Bandcamp doesn't like covers. But everywhere you get your jams, you can find JB. Go spin it. Thank you much.
Absolutely. Still swinging back. Check it out. Again, Evan, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. We'll get you guys back on maybe after the tour. See how that goes. So
Sounds good, man. Thanks.
cool. Peace.